So this video that you're about to look at actually was done back in 2015 when the CRA for West Tampa was just getting started. So this is dated, but it does present a really good overview of what the West Tampa CDC does and how we do it, what's known as a community comprehensive approach that looks at how do we change infrastructures in the community. So let's get started.
My name is Michael Randolph, and I'm with the West Tampa CDC.
Could you give your address, please?
I'm sorry, that location is 1803 North Howard Avenue, Suite 100. And I'm here today because part of the plan that you had before you include the West Tampa strategic plan, and I just wanted to get some quick highlights on that plan. The plan is a bottom-up approach to community development. The cardinal principle that guide the efforts of the plan is community accountability. We're accountable to the community participation, and that communities have participated in all of these strategies that we've done thus far. Community ownership of the process, community design, and most important, that it be a community-driven process. The method that we use for this initiative is a community mapping, access building strategy that emphasizes three community strategies: community organizing, economic development, and neighborhood planning, into one single methodology for community revitalization. That brings us to the strategy on how do we begin to implement change in West Tampa. And that strategy is based on a comprehensive, holistic approach to rebuilding, especially poor neighborhoods. It is a lesson learned, best practice approach to how do we transform neighborhoods like West Tampa, and it's based on national approaches to how other neighborhoods of similar like have done so. The strategy is based on a three-pronged approach: economic development, social development, and then physical development. So all combined together to create what we call a comprehensive, holistic approach to West Tampa, rebuilding West Tampa. The end result of this strategy is transforming the community in such a way that those folks that are in the community, low-income folks that don't have skills, are able to transform up with job skills, get a job, and be able to maintain in the community. We are strongly against gentrification. We are about transformation. And our concept of transformation is really uplifting the community, making sure everybody benefits. The benefits come to West Tampa is a healthy community, and one that moves from a community of distress to a community of choice. Again, this is a highlight. You have the plan before you, much more detail. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to give you an overview of the West Tampa plan. I can get on this song here. Come on. Again, my name is Michael Randolph, and I'm with the West Tampa Community Development Corporation. I serve as the Economic Development Director there. And back to the CDC's plan. Do want to talk about how do we fund this particular CIA as well as the CDC's strategic plan. And I want to talk about three components. One component is government, which normally gives subsidies and tax credits in order to bring people in. Another component to funding this project is the nonprofit sector, the West Tampa CDC. And the reason why I'm saying this is that a lot of money that's out there that government can't go for, the CDC can go for, in terms of bringing dollars into the West Tampa area. Just to give a couple of examples of that, it's the $800,000 that comes out every year for economic development in distressed neighborhoods. Only community development corporations can go for those dollars. Another side related to that is the tourist grant and the promise grant that's coming up. And the reason why I mention all of these grants is these are money that can come into West Tampa prior to the tip. And you was mentioned that the tip takes a year to actually begin to bring dollars. Well, these strategies right here can bring dollars even before the tip comes into play. Just one side note, the West Tampa CDC is giving a community-wide meeting on the 29th of June at 12 or 1:30, I'm not sure, but it's going to talk about the CRA and updates for the community. What you have before you now is an extension to what I talked about earlier, the strategy that we're using related to economic development, social development, and physical development. This talks about how that plan works, how it looks in terms of the graph. And we're looking at building the workforce, attracting new businesses, and in fact, strengthening other businesses. But most important, the CDC was to move to a mode of what we call social entrepreneurship. That we actually don't have to depend upon grants in order to sustain the focus in West Tampa. I do want to add one other item here that shows how it looks after we talked about the strategic plan. And as you see, the community leads the process. The CDC works for the community. The different partners that we talk about bringing on board is non-profit government, the private sector, and institutions of higher learning. My understanding is that we already have a conversation with USF on one of those components coming to West Tampa. So we're starting to put together partners in order to make the deal work. So by the time the CRA comes into play, there's a lot of structure in place. Again, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with you some of the thoughts related to the CDC.